Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Bettina. Come on. Say what? Come on. Say what? We got Pam, Hot Topics. We got what the fudge. So bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? We got questions. We got the answers. You wanna chit? You wanna chat? You wanna talk about this and talk about that? You're in the right place to hear the facts. Bring it home. Say what? Bring it home. Say what? The ladies are bringing the conversation. So join us on Say What across the nation. Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on, y'all. Say what? Come on. Say what? Bring it on. Say what? Come on.
Say what, say what, say what? Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. Welcome to this wonderful Saturday. We are the Say What podcast. Yes, I haven't had my lemon juice. I can hit the note. Say what? We got Miss Bettina trying to figure out how
I got some technical difficulties. I'm good now.
she having technical difficulties, but she there. Miss Vanessa, what's going on with you?
Nothing. I'm just enjoying life and you all. I'm just enjoying you all.
Absolutely. We are so happy to see Bettina's face. We was having some issues prior, but we're not going to talk about that. And we are one down, missing the bishop. Y'all know when she missing, she with Jesus, right? So she is focused with Jesus at this point, but we just love her. We just want to let her know we love her. And we will see her back next time. So, ladies, it is amazing to have you here. It's amazing to have our listeners here. So, since we are down the bishop, we got the junior bishop. I don't know if she ready, y'all. Is she ready? Junior bishop, you ready to be the bishop?
The junior bishop, hold fast one moment, is almost ready. The junior bishop is in an undisclosed location. Let me just say that. She's trying to move and shake. Okay.
She a witness protection.
I'm a little scared what that means. I'm a little scared.
She's under witness protection.
I'm in WITSEC right now.
Yeah, she's in WITSEC. She can't disclose her location. She's in WITSEC, and we're not here to out anybody. So we're good. She's good. You safe with us.
The junior bishop is ready with what was sent forth from the senior bishop.
All right. So we're gonna let junior bishop bring the word. What is it that thus saith the Lord?
We are going to come from the New Living Translation today. Yes, we are coming from Ephesians. It's something about saying Ephesians when my mouth do. Is it Ephesians? Yes. Chapter 4, verse 2 through 3. And then we're going to move into 26 through 27. Is that all right?
That's all right. That's all right.
Can I take a little time, if you will?
You can take time.
You go.
All right.
So go ahead.
Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. And don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. I'm going to repeat this last part because I got a little tongue-tied, not because I don't feel it in my spirit, just because my tongue got tied. I'm going to repeat it because somebody didn't hear this, okay? All right. Don't let sin don't sin by letting anger control you. All right. Got that part down. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. And as we well know, there is not a time, place, or space, even in our anger and our frustration, that we want to allow the devil to get a foothold on anything. All right. So clearly stating that whatever you are working through, whatever challenges you are going through, whatever complications you, your mate, your friends, your whomever, right? Specifically right now, I'm talking about your mate. Don't let the sun set on the anger. I used to hear back in the day, my grandparents say, don't go to bed angry. And I'm telling you right now, I never believed that was ever the case. Okay, I know some folk went to bed angry. I know it sounds good to say. It's not, practical application is a little different. practical application is a little different. However, if you continue to bring this word forth, especially when you are angry, especially when you are frustrated, especially when you are heated, because when we're heated, our emotions take over. So when you find yourself in these situations, you have to move away from your emotions. You have to move away from the I want to be right and that person is wrong. Move away from that and go back to the core of what really got you where you were, being together, right? And that's love, right? Because love endures. So that is what saith the Lord.
I like how you said that. Move away from the anger. We're going to talk about that later on, but I think that is key. And I think that that's where a lot of people struggle. Vanessa, what do you think?
Absolutely. Hey, I'm not even gonna sit here and what did he say, fake the funk and act like I have always abided by that last two sentences in that scripture.
Right.
Because I am at big time fault in that. I'm God's still delivering me in some areas. And so I'm pretty sure I've gone to bed. Well, I ain't pretty sure. I know I've gone to bed, you know, mad at somebody, whether it was my mate or somebody. I think this is just true across the board. You know, don't let the sun go down on your anger, not just at your mate, but at people in general. And again, I'm still a work in progress there. So, but it's a great scripture.
I think that that's great because again, it gives aspirations too. I think we all do things different.
Right.
So I think the challenge is, you know, what is your different? How to kind of step away from it. But we'll talk a lot about that when we get to our discussion about what makes marriage win. So we thank you for the word, Junior Bishop. She came in hot, but she got it. She definitely got it. So, Miss Vanessa, what is not going on in the world?
What is not going on in the world? So I can't tell you what's not going on because we don't hear a lot about what isn't going on, which is a lot of the good things, but the bad stuff is just here. IVF, my home state, Alabama, ruled that embryos are people too. And they came to this ruling. The way they got here was because of it stemmed from two lawsuits filed by three sets of parents who underwent IVF procedures to have babies and then opted to have the remaining embryos frozen. It's noted that the court, in its majority opinion, nodded to a 2018 amendment to the Alabama Constitution, which provides protections for the rights of the unborn child. During this lawsuit, the embryos were damaged, and they filed suit, and that's when this ruling came that the embryos were people too. And because of this ruling, one of the largest hospitals in Alabama, UAB, halted all IVF services, and that left a lot of parents or want to be parents in limbo, which I thought was so sad because for some of them, that's their only hope.
Right.
And I watched a couple of interviews, one specifically with this lady, and they asked her, you know, how did she feel? And she said her appointment was next week, where she was going to have her embryos she was going to have the surgery. But now that's been put on hold, and they asked her how did she feel about it, and she said she just had to have hope. And I just think it's really sad. But since then, the Alabama Attorney General has said that he would not be prosecuting anyone who wanted to continue the treatment. And Donald Trump also said that he is in support of IVF and asked for Alabama, the judicial system, to get it right. What are your thoughts?
Ms. Patina, you go first. What do you think?
First of all, I think this is a sad state of affairs right now.
It is.
I mean, it is. And as my position as the junior bishop, one of the 4 slashes we have at the bottom of my name, prayer. We have to pray first. We have to, if you've ever desired a child, and anybody that listens to this that understands this, ever desired to have a child and had struggles, medical struggles that were beyond your control, first of all, IVF is extremely expensive. So to come out and say, you've done this, we've already taken the eggs, we're waiting to implant the eggs, And to come back and tell somebody you can't do that, you're not allowed to do that, those belong to me. That's not yours. They didn't come from your body. That's mine. And another part of the issue, if I'm remembering correctly, is for the people who would want to destroy the leftover eggs.
Exactly. They can't.
That's the other, right. You can't do that because they're saying that's a human.
Exactly. They even if you die, if one or both of you die, both parents pass away, your embryos will be stored in perpetuity, meaning they will go on forever. Now think about that for a minute. You're gone, but you still have embryos.
That's right.
What are they going to do with it? What kind of science project are they going to do? Use those for now? What's happening with your embryos? Those are something that they long term.
That's right, Vanessa.
About.
That's what I was thinking about. Is again, it just shows the invasion of the government trying to be in your uterus.
Right.
I have an issue with the fact that you were in my uterus. Why are you in my uterus? It is none of your business.
Right.
And it's funny because I just saw a documentary with Keisha Lim, and the name of the documentary is All Eggs Are Not Scrambled.
Right.
And it's about women who are having problems having babies. And we did a show about that, how that has increased. Now I hate to sound like the typical old person, but the old people used to say must be what's in the water. Something in the water.
Right.
Because I have never seen so many people having problems with conceiving.
Right.
So,
right.
Time now you got everybody all in your business, in your uterus, what you're doing. I just discovered recently, and for those that don't know, I am an only child, right? Not by choice. My mom said she wanted to have more children, but she just recently told me that she was trying to have children after I was born and could not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. And I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Because sometimes you forget, And I'm like, Mom, because actually I was my mother's anniversary gift to my dad. I was born 2 days before their first anniversary. So my mom was like, and nothing here. This is your gift. This is what you got, whatever. But again, you're looking at trying to conceive after that. And she said she was having complications.
Right.
So I think of all the people who are having struggles, and now you got all of Washington in your uterus. This is crazy.
But it doesn't, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the embryos will take just because they are implanted. Yeah. What's the word? I'm looking for the.
Going to try to use.
Right. Somebody somewhere, if they're going to store them indefinitely. I mean, I feel so uncomfortable knowing that, okay, I wanted 2 children. I have 2 children. The only way for me to conceive is by IVF, but I have 4 more embryos, in store. But I can't get to them. I can't destroy them. They've got to remain forever. Why? What are you doing with? That's my question. What's happening with those embryos?
I want to add to that because think about it for a second. So if you're telling me my embryos are lasting, should I be, and we've done a show about this too, should I include them in my will?
Right. However, how do you include them in your will if the state already has control of them?
Exactly.
So even if you wanted to put them in your trust, the state already has control. So they're not going in your trust. Your house can go in your trust, but your embryos cannot.
Right. Somebody's going to try to, well, she not here, and we going to do, and well, what gives you a right to do? So are we just going to keep storing up embryos, or we just going to, and I know the government's going to come back and say, well, we got too many, so we got to get rid of some. Well, who says what you allowed to get rid of? It's too much into it.
I just see a science fiction movie waiting to be made behind all of this. I see some sci-fi movie waiting to be made, the something embryos, killer embryos, something behind the embryos that now you're no longer allowed to destroy. And because of this, women are now leaving the state to have these procedures done.
Which is let me add this one thing. I apologize. And picture this. You're gone. You have 4 embryos left, right? And then 15 years later, your cousin, your sister, your somebody, see somebody, meet somebody that looks identical to you, because somebody else has gotten your embryo because they didn't have any viable embryo. So they said, well, do you have one that's a black woman, that's blasé skippity wee, about my height, and somebody, you said, you look exactly like my auntie that passed, like
Exactly.
identical.
Yep. And think about this too, Bettina, on top of that, that's a business waiting to be had, because now I foresee them selling the embryos.
The same way they do sperm.
I'm telling you, selling embryos. I'm telling you. It's just it's bad all the way around. And it's unfortunate that my state took this stance. I just, it, the orange guy, I don't know what his purpose of even coming out against it was, and I'm not even gonna. But I'm at least glad he spoke against that. Now, whatever his motives were, that's on him. But
Political.
of course, of course,
So I need to sign off on something that's really got people amped up. I need to jump
exactly.
over here. What I'm going to do is I'm a double dutch. See,
we know this exactly.
When you double dutch, you got two ropes going, right?
Exactly.
So you got to try to have one foot in, where you got to get in there just on time. You got to rock and get in there on time. So he said, "Oh, I might need to get in here on this one.
Yep.
I'll be out in a minute."
Exactly.
Well, again, to the last point, and then we can move on. It's just the point of watch the flip flopping. You're going to see the flip flopping. Well, I agree. Well, I don't agree, because it's all according to a public opinion that I'm going to jump on that right side. To your point, Bettina, double dutch is appropriate because you got to determine when you're going to come in, when you're not. Not
Right.
only that, once you're inside, you got to stay in rhythm in order to keep this going. So you watched one of the senators go back and forth in a matter of 2 minutes. So he was just like, okay, I see the point, because embryos are babies. But then the same time he was saying, oh, well, no, we got to have more kids, and no, we're not going to do. So you literally just watched him flip back and forth with the focus of today. And Vanessa will probably bring the story. You have Nikki Haley, who said, well, I agree. And then later on, it was changing to different things. So like I said, it's just really difficult, and you should not be in my uterus.
It's just whatever benefits them politically right now. Right now, they're in the middle of primaries. So they will say and do whatever they think they need to do in order to get the votes they need to be where they need to be. So we just stay in prayer on this. Again, I know it looks like we're in control, but we really are not. All things works for the good for those who love the Lord. And it's just, we're not in control here. We just need to stay in prayer and pray for those who are in limbo because of this situation. So next, Alexei Navalny. You all might have heard that he passed. He has now passed. He was the Russian opposition leader. He opposed Putin and his politics, his Russian politics, his legislation. He was just a Putin opposer, a Russian political opposer, and he was arrested and put in prison a couple of years ago. Well, he has since passed away of the last couple of weeks. His family, his mom, has recently come out and said that Russia has given her two choices: to have a private funeral. She could have a private funeral to not make it a big thing, or if she doesn't agree to that, then they will bury him at the prison where he died. She believes he was poisoned. She wants his body, but Russia won't release it. So because of all of those events that have taken place, the U.S. has since put more than 500 sanctions against Russia, and they include Russia's main card payment system, financial and military institutions, and officials involved in Navalny's imprisonment. The EU, the European Union, has also joined in with the U.S. on imposing sanctions upon him as well. You think sanctions is really going to make a difference with him?
No, not really, because again, he's been running rampant. We had sanctions, a while back, and still running rampant and kind of doing. But what I find to be amazing is the reach. as to how far opposers of the Russian country does different things. So you see this person who's been poisoned here, because this gentleman was poisoned before.
Right.
Came back, but he wasn't even in the country when he was poisoned.
He decided to go back after he was poisoned.
Right. Initially, when he was poisoned before, he was not in the country, so he decided to go back. But again, all this stuff that goes on regarding, getting after somebody, to me, is just amazing that is allowed to continue. And I don't necessarily believe that sanctions are effective. Bettina, what's your thoughts?
Listen, they're not going to be effective. I mean, how much sanctioning can one do? Okay?
Exactly.
How much sanctioning and it's not being abided by can one continue to do? So we figure we're just going to keep sanctioning. Well, if you're not abiding by it, tell me the point of the sanctions.
That's like putting a what are those things in order to keep people away from you?
Protective order.
Protective order. They're not.
It's a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's just a piece of paper. That's it. That's it.
That's it. And how many times have we heard? How many times have we heard somebody got attacked and they said, "You think that piece of paper was going to keep me from cutting your face open?"
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. To me, it shows more or less of the reach of what's going on and what has or has not been done, because here we are, election year again. Got all of this going on, and again, we don't see much that happens. So yeah.
And last story, Trump still has to pay the $355 million payment for some of his shenanigans, because he still has money all over the place that he still has to pay. But he had asked the judge for a delay in that $355 million payment, and the judge said no bueno, and that he still has to pay it.
Okay, so I gotta give big ups to Letitia James.
Letitia, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
James ain't playing, okay? She said he ain't got the money. We coming after them properties, okay? And she said, I pass it every day, okay? So she is like putting all her stuff out there, don't care. But the irony to me, and I just want to pose this to us today, is, I believe that we're just trying to find reasons to delay.
Of course.
That's right.
But when she came in and said, I'll pass this property all the time, I have no problem coming after it. It was just amazing how she put that out there. Ladies, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, as one of the seniors that I know who often doesn't pronounce things correctly said, listen, just let them break down vitiligo. I'll take that one. I'm almost sure that's Mar-a-Lago.
Stop it.
Yeah. I'm almost sure that might be a mispronunciation. Okay, but that's fine. I understood what you were talking about.
Oh, gosh. Bettina, let them break down vitiligo.
Let them break down. You just break down vitiligo and give me my money.
And in the process, they can break down Mar-a-Lago too.
While they at it.
You gotta say it like the old people say. You know what I'm talking about.
you knew what I was talking about, didn't you?
Oh my goodness!
Somebody got vitiligo. Okay.
Somebody got it. Somebody got it.
So that's it with my stories. Two things I want to add real quick. Wendy Williams' documentary will be available for the premiere starts tonight. Lifetime is showing it. So please check in, tune in. Her documentary is getting rave reviews. It's very interesting from what I was able to see before I slept. It was very interesting and will be a very good watch. Also, we're in the middle of early. Yes.
I want us to, if some way, figure out after it it's finished viewing for us to discuss it, because I'm just going to say, I want to say this real quick. I saw an interview with, I think, Melanie Hobson, Hopkins, and she was talking to the niece about the video. I mean, to talk about the documentary, and the niece said something that I found. Talisa, I think you might be able to chime in on this. The niece said, she said, "Is this a little exploitive? This video,
right.
And the niece said, this is what the niece said. The niece said she's the executive producer. If the state has taken guardianship, then you are not of sound mind,
Right.
okay, to handle your own affairs. So how are you executive producing something that makes you look
I
so
saw that.
awful,
I saw that.
right?
So I want to put it out there. A lot of times we feel like, or we don't know, is that executive producer just means that you're funding it.
I understand that.
It's a money thing, but at the same time, big ups to the producers that were doing the show because they have been videotaping her since 22. But what they discovered, if anybody has not seen, her niece was on The View yesterday, and her niece said they discovered that something was really wrong with Wendy. So that's when they stopped because she wanted to do this. And again, they started noticing something is seriously wrong. So her niece reported that they have no way of getting in contact with Wendy. Only when she calls out that
Yes,
they can talk to her. They do not
yes,
have a phone number for her.
that's right.
While the show was taping, because it's live, The View was
Right.
at the end of the show, Whoopi Goldberg says the family that is helping Wendy is not happy about this documentary that's coming out, but that she is fine. They are taking care of stuff. But again, the secrecy, the stuff that was going on, who's got what, where the money is, things of that nature. And we did a show on this in the past that you can go back and be able to stipulate where you want your things or whatever. But like I said, it's just really, really interesting as to how things are going down. They mentioned conservatorship. Conservatorship is different in every state. So what happens in California, because a lot of people go to the Britney Spears thing, that's in California. New York has their own way of doing things
Right.
and how things are distributed and handled. So, check out the documentary and you can get a chance to see kind of what.
Yeah, I can hardly wait to see the whole thing, see it in its entirety.
Yeah.
And lastly, we're in the middle of early voting for the primaries. Please go out and vote. Here in my county, it's going to continue for the next 2 weeks. Early voting for the GOP and the Democratic primary. Took me every bit of 5 minutes because no one was in there. So by the time I got there, got paperwork signed in, and they gave me the card and I voted. It was 5 minutes or less. So please go out. They're asking me to tell all my friends to go and vote. So I'm telling you all and tell your friends, but please go out and vote. After the 8th, I think March 8th is the last day for early voting. And then that following Tuesday is the regular primary election. So if you want to get in on early voting, please do so now in your county.
Absolutely.
That's the only way I vote.
Me too.
You know what? Some of us, Vanessa actually enlightened me. I didn't realize it was early voting going on. I had not paid attention. I don't normally watch the news, so I kind of see things as we go along. But like I said, just in general, all of us don't know. And
no, my sister Dodie mentioned it to me because she saw it on the news. And look, I hadn't heard it look loud and wrong. I said, oh, that's not even till November.
Right. And
the reason I saw it is because I was passing the park. I pass the park sometimes coming home from the gym, and I saw the sign saying vote here. And I'm like, what are they voting for? So then I went online, but I had been getting things in the mail, flyers of people running for different things. So I said, okay, I tried to Google and see what was happening, who's voting, and research people. I couldn't really do that, but I went in. I said, okay, I'm making my voice count somehow. I went in and then saw that it was the actual primaries. So there was only one thing to vote for, and that was the presidential primary. So please get out and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, in places you never know because one county will be doing something, the other one don't. We don't absolutely know all the time, but we try to make sure that you know that information. So please
Yes.
go.
Yes.
What the fudge?
Yeah. What the fudge?
What the fudge?
Once again, and it has become a thing where I'm repetitive because sometimes words get in the way. And sometimes pictures are not just worth 1,000 words. Sometimes it can be 1,000,000. Sometimes it can be 1,012,000. It just depends. Okay. So I'm going to let this picture speak for itself. And as usual, I'm going to marinate for a few seconds. and let you two marinate, and then we'll discuss it. Talisa, if you would.
Let me guess, alligator shoes.
Well, I'm gonna say alligator shoes, but with the muzzle at the front, I can't tell whether they're crocodile shoes or the original Crocs, because it's kind of seeming like that.
That's true. That's true.
And I have to tell you that this whole Croc, they just cut the head off of that crocodile. Right, and somebody, some seamstress, somebody that does shoe repair or is a shoe, I don't know what you call shoe people. What do you call people that create a shoe creator? How about that? I don't know if they took the back part of the skin of the crocodile and folded that over. This is all I can imagine. All right, and got the little nails that you make the shoes with, and tapped them real good to tuck them to get the right size. Because I'm wondering if how much foot, okay, is in that.
Well, Bettina,
need some of those. Dion said,
Bettina, look, they still have part of the crocodile or alligator behind them. You see that little piece?
That's a part. That's the little tail part that they cut off.
I was looking at the eyes around the shoelaces. I'm just
the
like,
eyes and the listen.
Oh,
is what I'm trying to tell you. That's the little tail. They went on ahead and got the tail. So that one shoe, because there's nothing more original than one shoe not being the same as the other. Okay? So nobody else. So I say these are either the original Now Later Gators, right? Or this is the original Croc. I haven't figured it out yet, and I didn't have enough time to get that together in my head before we did. So I'm just gonna say, what the fudge?
What the fuck? You said Now Later Gators. Stop it.
Yes, that's what we do in Detroit. That's what the old pimps used to do in Detroit. They had Now Later Gators. It was actually a pimp shop, but you could go and buy your whole suit with your Now Later Gators that matched.
See.
Oh gosh.
All Detroit, those brothers get it. Yeah.
Everybody in Detroit is going off right now talking about my girl came through.
Mercy. Okay. Thank you, Miss Bettina. Thank you.
What the fudge?
Oh gosh. Can you see somebody dancing with somebody like that?
Yeah.
And keep my foot? Oh
I
my
could probably go downtown and see somebody in those same shoes.
So they
right.
If you remember the 70s, remember they used to have the elevator platforms that had the fish in it?
Yeah. And you remember, you remember they used to be on Soul Train with the little goldfish in there, and the poor goldfish was dizzy because they were stomping. Bam, 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 bam. The poor goldfish was up in there like this. Hey, I got a headache.
I'm surprised the what is it, the goldfish
Peter,
like Peter, whatever the name is.
We're gonna call it gold Peter.
Goldfish Peter.
Oh my God. Wait, do you remember the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker when he came out of jail?
Hey.
That's it right there. So, ladies, we talking about marriage and what makes marriage work. What makes it win? What do we do to kind of make it win? So even though the bishop is absent, still sent some stuff in to kind of get our attention.
What say she?
What say she? So the number one thing, and I want to preface this about, marriages thriving. Nowadays, they aren't thriving.
Right.
People are getting married. I just saw some famous person, they're getting divorced after 15 months.
Portia Williams from Atlanta Housewives.
Somebody married for a couple of months. And honestly, nowadays, you're not even seeing marriages last more than 2 years.
Right.
So we have some struggles when it comes to that. So the bishop, she commented, and she said the first thing first is communication. Now I feel like communication, we get lost, and ladies, I'm gonna want some feedback from you about this. Communication is a big old area. It could be communicated about a bunch of things. That's people say all the time. We need to communicate. But the bishop got, direct with this, and she said the first thing you need to do is be clear in what you're communicating.
Right.
Involves active listening. I do not hear active listening enough when it comes to relationships. What I would add to that is a lot of times when you're not listening, you're waiting and chipping away at the bit before somebody else talks. So in your brain, you're going, hurry up, shut up, so I can say what I got to say what I.
Right.
And your emotions get part of it, and you end up going somewhere else and never solving the issue. So she said, being clear and communicate. She said, God, when he communicates to us, is love. And this is the part I want y'all to comment on. If you notice when you are in conversation with God, because he is love and what he does with us displays his love. Do y'all ever notice that God never yells?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Still
He
small voice.
never yells. He just, I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and you get all in your emotion. Yeah, but and he's like, yeah, and I heard you, but he never yells. Ladies, what do you think?
He's calm.
Oh, so calm.
God is calm. He's peaceful, and that's something to be. That says a lot, actually. He's love. He loves us. He's firm in what he says. He means what he says, but he doesn't have to yell to get his point across.
Right.
And
Mhm.
that speaks volumes, actually. Um, that speaks volumes,
Yes.
because not just in marriage, but in our friendships, in our everyday relationships and friendships. How many of us can exercise that in those relationships as well? Um,
Absolutely.
he is
Absolutely.
definitely a model, and someone that we should strive to behave like. Do we always do that? No. We're not always successful, but that in our prayer time, God listens. He's quiet. He allows you to speak and do whatever, say whatever, talk to him. And when he responds, it isn't a yell. It is, he guides you. He lets you do what if you're not listening, he knows you're coming back. In other words,
You're gonna have
right,
to come around.
she gonna run back. you
Mhm.
know how you know how you're in a relationship and they say, "Oh, you'll be back. I ain't worried about you." He knows you're gonna eventually run back. You'll come running back to him, one way or another. But I do like that concept that she brought, that he listens and he never yells when he interacts with you, when he talks to you.
Miss Bettina?
So, not much more that I can add on that level where God doesn't yell. I mean, it's clear. God's not yelling. We've read it in a still small voice. He's not coming to you yelling. I think many of the challenges in relationships, I have the challenge myself. I've had the challenge. I struggle and I think oftentimes we're so concerned about being right, and we think that by yelling that we're going to be heard more. What actually happens to the brain is the brain tends to shut down.
Shut down.
So at that point, all of the yelling, all of the barking that people are doing, all you're hearing is in your mind, stop talking so I can say what I have to say. That's all you're hearing. And how often in an argument has somebody said, did you even hear what I just said to you? Right? I said the exact same thing that you said.
Yep.
That happens. So I think the yelling, first of all, the yelling doesn't get us anywhere. It does make the person yelling, or for some incorrect English, it makes the yeller oftentimes feel better.
Yeah.
It makes the yeller feel better because I'm louder than you, I'm getting my point across, and you need to understand in this yelling that I'm also extremely, extremely angry and or frustrated. That's what I'm trying to convey. Less whether I'm right, wrong, or indifferent. I need you to hear what I'm saying. And the reality is when you're having a discussion with somebody and it's getting heated, if you drop your voice, they tend to listen. Because the first thing they say is, what the hell did you say? Oh, we're going to get sensitive because I said hell. Well, that's in the Bible. Anyway, so it's in
Did
the
you
Bible.
try to fix that? She said, go ahead, Bettina.
That's in the Bible.
But
All
you
right.
being real, but that's real.
Yes.
Because that
You're
is most
right.
of the time the first thing people say. You're right.
Yeah, right. They want to know, period. What the hell did you say?
Mhm.
Now everybody's dropped. All I said was blah, 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 this, that, and the other. yada yada yada, right? You keep it down there. You don't wonder when the what the hell did you say brings the conversation down. You don't spike it back up.
But what happens? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I
No,
didn't.
no, 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 no. Go ahead.
So what happens? Because I find myself sometimes when I lower my voice, I'm frustrated now. I don't want to talk about it, and if we continue, I'm gonna yell some more. If I lower it, that's me saying, "Go away, leave me alone." And you see how I lowered my voice? It's me saying, "You know what? I'm tired. We're not getting anywhere. I'm tired. I'm done. Walk away."
Right. And sometimes you giving that tone doesn't mean for the other person to walk away. It means for you to walk away.
Yeah, but
You're
sometimes
not
when
going to
I
be
say
able
that,
to
I mean
convey
for them to walk away.
Right. So the point is, and so that's a good point, Vanessa, because we've done that too. I can say that I can admit myself, I've done that too. However, the walk away doesn't always mean, because if
Right.
you're trying to tell the person you're talking to walk away, first of all, they feel like you're trying to tell them what to do, and they don't want to do that. So
Yep.
you have a choice.
Yep.
You can walk away. And when cooler heads prevail, the hope and the prayer, as the junior bishop, you see what I did? You got to always put prayer in there. The hope and the prayer is that you can stop, you
Right.
can settle in the conversation and be willing to apologize, say I'm sorry, whichever way. You know, I tend not to so much say I'm sorry as much as I apologize. However, if I'm sorry is the important thing for somebody, then figure that out. We listen, how many people have lost relationships or had somebody walk away, or you walked away from a relationship, and then later you think all I had to do was say. All I
Exactly.
had to do was, or you say to yourself, was it really that important? Was it really that important that I
Right.
be right in that moment? And let
Right.
me just speak to the comment that the bishop had up there. Oh, I just love the bishop. Bishop, I love you. Just catch that. Respect. I saw a video. Somebody sent me a video, I believe, or I sent it to somebody, and the guy said men want respect more than they want sex.
Girl, you better preach, because
I'm
they were
telling
telling
you,
you. Yep.
you know, that is, and you don't think about it. And when I start thinking about a man wanting respect more than he wants sex, because the body, you know, the men have a stronger urge, I think, in a lot of times, not all the time, you know, because but anyway, so I'm saying, I digress.
I was getting ready to say, wait a minute. Majority of the time they do, but they got some others, you know, some women that's like, okay.
It's one or two of us. I mean, my hand is not necessarily raised. Anyway, so I'm just saying, I think about respect. I think about the number of times I've seen either couples around me or family members, and we're at functions and they're cussing the dude out, or you know, going off or rolling their eyes, and everybody else can see that, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever is going on, don't do that.
No, if you got to
And
do it in private.
Right.
Mm-mm.
But the whole disrespect never has to be done. Like
Right.
there's never a time when
Right.
you have to disrespect
Right.
somebody.
Right.
There are times when you have to have some challenging conversations.
And
But
if
let
you gotta,
me
if
answer
you
this.
got,
Hold
go
on.
ahead.
Let me say this. A lot of times, if you notice, after the person done calmed down, they say what they had to say. And people say this all the time. I don't agree with this statement. I'm just putting it out. People say, well, I had to say it because they needed to hear it this way, right? And they do that because this is how they learn to do things. So I just want to incorporate to Bettina's point, but also to the bishop's point. First of all, respect is defined different ways, depending on where
Yes.
you came from. Okay.
Mhm.
But the second part of that is it takes a lot of discipline to lower your voice, because
Yes.
we tend to want to raise your voice. And the analogy I often give, and it shows how old we are, but remember when Pac-Man first came out, it was a joystick. And a lot of times people push on that joystick thinking it's going to move faster. And it
Right.
doesn't. It
No,
doesn't.
it
It
doesn't.
ain't faster. And what you do is when you're screaming, you're thinking if I scream louder, they're going to get it. And they don't. So
It
Vanessa,
works
what
just the opposite. It works just the
Right.
opposite. Two things here I wanted to say. Sometimes, I want to touch on two things Bettina said. Sometimes when you're in public, sometimes you do need to put people in check. you got to put them in check. Not saying that you have to do it right then. I'm not one to cause a scene. I've never been one to cause a scene in public. But if I got to put you in check, you gonna know we having this conversation soon as we either get to the car or when we get home. But you gonna know. And if you disrespected me in any kind of way, it depending on the level, depending on what it is, if it's something that I just have to speak to, I will still try to do it respectfully. But then when we get in private quarters, it's on. I mean, it's on. And then another thing, one more thing, real quick. Tina was saying that men want respect more than they want sex. It's funny because at the gym, one of the guys, he didn't say the sex part, but he did say a man wants respect more than anything else. He said you might can call him many things. He said he might want many things. He said, but the number one thing a man wants is to be respected. And that spoke volumes with me just hearing that. And he did. He's like in his 40s. He did. And he's married. But he was telling this other lady. He was telling her the number one thing that a man wanted was respect. And I get that. And women want that too, but it's coming from a man that just spoke volumes to me.
And then, okay, go. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Let me interject two things, and then we're gonna move on to the next thing, because as you can see, there's a hot button issue. We can just talk about this. Two things. One, he is correct. Men, the number one thing they look for is respect. The number one thing women look for is security. So if I don't feel secure around you, then I act and do all these other things. Same thing with men, but at the same time, trying to learn to communicate and speak the same language is where we struggle. We don't know how to be able to say, I'm trying to say this, and then we say things like, well, I got to say it this way for you to get it, right? The goal is, based on what the bishop said, and being clear. Clear does not mean yelling.
Right.
Because one thing that's great about God, when I made the statement about God not yelling, is he is effective, right? You think screaming makes you effective. It does not.
So it works the opposite.
It works the opposite. So God is secure enough in what he said, whether you agree with it or not. Like Bettina said, you're going to come back. You're going to come back and we're going to discuss this. And a lot of times if we're mad at somebody, well, God, you didn't see this such and such. And what he does is he'll say, so what did you do? I don't want to talk about what I did. You didn't see what he did. But again, he's effective. So what you're really trying to be is effective in your communication.
He's stern in his word. He'll tell you just what he wants you to know. He says it calmly. He doesn't change his mind. He's not changing. So you either like it or you don't. And he's not going to yell at you. It's like, this is what it is. And my child, this is how it's going to be. Yes and amen. And it's up to you. He didn't yell at you. He does not yell. I mean, it's what did Sonia just say? I was going to address that as well. What did she just say?
Behind closed doors, God knows about, and we must honor God at all times.
Right.
And that's true. That is true. That's why, if there's something that needs to be addressed, whether because I don't like being disrespected either. I know that's the number one thing with men, but I demand respect as well. So respect goes both ways. And I'm grown enough to know, okay, I don't like scenes. I have never liked to draw attention to myself. But if I got to check you, you're going to know it's getting checked behind closed doors. You're going to know that. And I will do it respectfully if we're out in public. But behind closed doors, then, that's me and you. And I take my gloves off. Again, yelling doesn't help, but I will get my point across. And I'm still a work in progress on a lot of this. And I do things, I live my life to be respectful, not just to my mate, but to my friends and family. So that's across the board. Respect that's across the board, period.
Absolutely. So the second thing I want to bring about is, how do we thrive while we relate with each other? What deepens that connection? So Dr. Jennifer Littner says, talk about ways to improve the relationships. Questions like how tend to open up the conversation about future interaction. An example of a question is, how can we have more fun in our relationship, ladies?
Go ahead, Bettina.
And remember, this is G rated. Thank you very much. Because I know I see that smirk on
Everybody's listen. Everybody's everybody's definition of fun is different. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this out here. We might be able to make this a show one day. Everybody's definition of fun is different. Some people may enjoy like going out, going on trips. Some people may enjoy amusement parks. Some people may enjoy museums. Some people may enjoy more intimate activities. As far as the clear communication goes for me, and I know I'm stepping back, but I'm in here. I'm double dutching a little bit. I'm not retracting anything. Clear communication to me is if we are disagreeing about something, and I know I might not be in the minority in women with this. If we're disagreeing about something that has absolutely nothing to do with someone outside of our relationship sexually, I'm not ever in the headache mode. I don't do that. I don't play that game. That's everybody else can do what they want to do, because here's the reality for me. That would assume that the sex is something that only he enjoys. If I'm cutting you off, then I'm cutting me off. And so that would assume that you're the only one having sex, so I get to use it as a weapon. That's not the case for me. First of all, I'm not trying to necessarily be having sex with somebody that I'm not enjoying it with. So the argument, that needs to cut off at 8:59. It's bedtime at 9 o'clock.
Because
If
come
we
9
talking
o'clock,
about
this
9 o'clock, we'll pick this up tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. On your way off to work, we can text back. We can be. My point is that causes a lot of problems in a lot of marriages, and I can tell you from a couples counselor standpoint, because it's used as it's weaponized.
Yeah.
Sex is weaponized.
Yeah.
And and like people do with children, often they use them as pawns. You know that your intimate relationship with that person is incredible. So your answer in your mind is, well, I'm mad, so I'm not giving you any of this incredible. So what are you really saying to that person?
Yeah.
But Tina, let me
hold on, Vanessa, to your point. So Dion offered, leave me alone works well. 30 minutes without further provocation is golden. So that gives me a minute to calm down, right? So like you said, Bettina, at 8:59 it's going to end. So about 8:30, I need a minute. Get myself together so that we can come back and we could handle business, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Is that about right? Is that about right, Bettina?
That sounds exactly right. If we arguing about the checkbook, that ain't got nothing to do with the nookie cookie.
Exactly. So wait a minute. I want to add too, in our time that we got left, there's a lot of information out there that's saying marriages, are working because we're in separate locations, separate rooms.
Wait a minute, before you go there, Talisa, let me just ask Bettina a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got to get this in. Talisa, Bettina, so you need to teach a class. I probably have to come to Bettina's class for not for cutting stuff off when you're angry and picking it back up the next day. I think I need to come to your class, because
Vanessa is disclosing and just allowing people to.
Because I don't use it as a weapon. It's not a weapon. It's just
when your mind is upset, some people can't make their body come together with that.
Right,
I get that.
We're not connecting.
Right.
Right. Say what?
Not connecting.
It's like if I'm here, and it takes me a minute to get back down here, and if I'm not here, then I'm not there.
Right. I understand it. I understand that completely. However, number one, good sex is a stress reliever. It really is. That's the first thing.
I had to get mine in a couple of days after a day or so, depending on the situation.
Sex is a stress reliever. It really is. Okay. All of them endorphins and stuff that's going off and all that good stuff. It's a stress reliever. So I do need to give a class, because I actually mention this in my comedy shows oftentimes. And I can't tell you how many after the shows, gentlemen have said, can you talk to my wife? Can you tell my wife that thing you were saying about on stage? And it's not joke time. That's for real for me. So
I mean,
my
it
ex-husband was a lot of things that weren't fabulous, right? However, when our arguments weren't about the things that he really wasn't that fabulous about, which at that point it was time to let him go, right? If that's what our arguments weren't.
Wait. But the bishop has chimed in, and she's gonna be the last word of this, okay? Because we got to go. But the bishop has chimed in and said, yes, you need to cut this arguing off at 7 so that
Come on,
at
Bishop.
8
Come on, Bishop.
go with this. I understand.
Give you a little time to pull that thing together.
When she say bring it back down here so that we can, okay. Vanessa has disclosed today, and that's the thing. But as y'all can see, this conversation can go on forever. Okay, we could just be at this conversation. But the focus is, again, you're really trying to, and I think this is the piece that we want to leave with it, because we always want to help people to recognize what to do. The goal of this is to, as I say to clients all the time, what do we need to do to keep this going, this relationship going?
Right.
And they like to think that they're my client. Really, the marriage is my client. What are we doing to keep the marriage breathing, right? If I'm mad at you, yeah, that's part of life. We're going to get mad. But at the same time, what do we need to do to keep this marriage going? And what I believe, and you ladies can chime in 30 seconds, just 30-second response, is we're not finding that. So as a result, we're ending the marriage. This must not work. This is not good.
Right.
I'm out. Ladies, 30 seconds apiece.
Go ahead, Vanessa. I'll get it last.
I think we need to put a little more effort in, and knowing that everything's not going to be rosy. It's give and take. It's compromise. And you can't just grab your toys and leave the playground just because things aren't like you expected. I don't know what, depending on what mindset you came into the marriage with, what you envisioned it to be. If it doesn't turn out to be that way, then now I want to go home. I don't want to play anymore. We got to come out of that mindset and at least know that marriage is work. Okay, I'm done.
So Lisa, I'm gonna close out with your gesture. This gesture right here that you just did. First of all, back in the day, it looked something like this. That's all I'm saying. So that's my ending.
Oh my God!
That's one of my slashes. You understand what I'm saying?
Recognize this is G related. Thank you very much. But as the bishop, who then stepped into being the comedic part of this thing, she'd like to let us know. But as y'all can see, we could definitely continue this conversation all day. Again, the goal is to help our marriages thrive and not just survive. So we want to make sure that you understand that. We will, of course, be back at this conversation, but we just want to make a little announcement. We want to hear from our listeners. So we want you to send us your video, make a video of your question, 10 seconds or less. You can send it to our Gmail account, which is thekitchentable11@gmail.com. We will make sure your question gets to be part of our show. And we want you to be part of the Say What podcast. So we love you. We thank you. Ladies, it was a joy to see you on this Saturday afternoon. And we're going to work on Miss Patina. As the old people used to say, we're going to pray her healing, okay? Because this is
touch and agree.
Touch and agree, because this is just crazy. We love y'all. We'll see y'all back next time we come back in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Get ready for Sonia, Teresa, Vanessa, Patina. Come on, say